नमस्कार. महाराष्ट्र राज्य उच्च व तंत्र शिक्षण विभाग, महाराष्ट्र माहिती तंत्रज्ञान सहायता केंद्र यांच्या संयुक्त विद्यमाने सुरू असलेल्या करिअर कट्टा या उपक्रमांतर्गत उद्योजक आपल्या भेटीला या कार्यक्रमात आपले सर्वांचे सहर्ष स्वागत. आज आपल्याला मार्गदर्शक म्हणून लाभलेले आहेत मी अंकिता साळुंके, सायबर सिक्युरिटी अनालिस्ट, डिजिटल टास्क फोर्स. मी सर्वप्रथम मॅडमांचं आमच्या करिअर कट्ट्याच्या व्यासपीठावर स्वागत करते. तसेच उपस्थित सर्व शिक्षक, समन्वयक, विद्यार्थी या सर्वांचेही स्वागत करते. मॅडमांना अशी विनंती करते की त्यांनी आपल्या मार्गदर्शनास सुरुवात करावी. अंकिता मॅम. अंकिता मॅडम तुम्ही म्यूट आहात.
मॅम येतोय आवाज आता?
हा, येस मॅम.
ठीक आहे, ठीक आहे.
मॅडम मार्गदर्शनास सुरुवात करा.
करू स्टार्ट?
येस येस मॅम.
ठीक आहे, ठीक आहे. गुड इव्हनिंग एव्हरीवन. हॅलो, आय एम अंकिता साळुंके फ्रॉम डिजिटल टास्क फोर्स. Today's our topic is cybercrime against individuals. Cybercrime is unlawful acts wherein the computer is either a tool or target or both. The computer may be used as a tool. There are some kinds of activity: financial crimes, sales of illegal articles, pornography, online gambling, intellectual property, email spoofing, forgery, cyber defamation, cyber stalking. Cyber stalking. The computer may, however, be target for unlawful act in the following cases: unauthorized access to computer, computer system, computer networks, theft of information contained in the electronic form, email bombing, salami attacks, logic bombs, Trojan attacks, internet time thefts, webjacking. Cyber harassment is a distinct cybercrime. Various kinds of harassment can and do occur in cyberspace. Then what is cyberspace? Word of electronic computerized space. It is cyberspace. Environment of the internet. Examples: home of Google, Yahoo, or Facebook. Then there is different weapons used in against person on cyberspace. There are some techniques used by persons for harassment, like email spamming. Then what is email spamming? Email spam, also known as a junk email or unsolicited bulk email. Spam is flooding the internet with many copies of the same message in an attempt to force the message and people who would not otherwise choose to receive it. In addition to wasting people's time with unwanted email, spam also eats up a lot of network bandwidth. Then email bombing. What is email bombing? Email bombing occurs through sending threatening emails. For example, like Mr. X received an email message from someone who called him your friend. The attachment with the email contained morphed up pornographic photographs of Mr. X. The mail message said that if Mr. X were not to pay 20,000 at a specified place every month, the photographs will be uploaded to the internet and then a copy sent to his family. ईमेल बॉम्ब हा इंटरनेट दुरुपयोगाचा एक प्रकार आहे जो मेल बॉक्स ओव्हरफ्लो करण्याच्या आणि पत्ता होस्ट करण्याच्या मेल सर्व्हरला ओव्हरफ्लो करण्याच्या उद्देशाने विशिष्ट ईमेल पत्त्यावर मोठ्या प्रमाणात ईमेल पाठवण्याद्वारे केला जातो, ज्यामुळे ते सेवा नाकारण्याचे काही प्रकार बनते. तसेच ईमेल बॉम्बला लेटर बॉम्ब असेही म्हणतात. IRC रिलेटेड क्राइम्स. Then what is IRC? IRC is an internet relay chat. Means servers have chat rooms in which people from anywhere the world can come together and chat with each other. IRC related crimes. 3 main ways to attack IRC. That is verbal attack, clone attack, and flood attack. Verb attacks are people going on IRC and verbally abusing people on server. Then second is clone attack. Clone attacks are where hundreds of people connect via SOX proxy or Trojan virus to the same IRC server, often overloading their server or causing client with slower computers to lock up. Third is flood attack. With flood attacks, the attacker sends many random characters to the server, also causing users with slower computer to lock up. Worse attacks occur when the attacker combines two or more of these attacks together. Then next is phishing. What is phishing? Phishing, some spoof messages purport to be from an existing company, perhaps one with which the intended victim already has a business relationship. The bait attract in this instance may appear to be a message from the fraud department. For example, the victim bank, which asks the customer to confirm their information, log into their account, create a new password, or similar request. If the fish takes the bite, they are hooked. Their account information is now in the hands of the con man to do with as they wish. Phishing scams are currently the most popular and thus dangerous form of email fraud. They use email message that appear to come from a legitimate company or institution. तुम्हाला कधी असा ईमेल आला आहे का ज्यात एक लिंक दिलेली आहे आणि त्यावर क्लिक करायला सांगितलंय आणि हा मेल तुमच्या परिचयातील कुणीही पाठवला नाहीये? मग लक्षात घेण्याची गरज आहे की हा फिशिंगचा हल्ला होण्याचा संकेत आहे. फिशिंग हा सोशल हल्ल्याचा असा एक प्रकार आहे ज्यात तुमची गोपनीय आणि खासगी माहिती, पासवर्ड, आर्थिक माहिती आदी चोरली जाते. यासाठी लिंक पाठवल्या जातात. ईमेल, मेसेज आणि अगदी आता व्हॉट्सअपच्या माध्यमातूनही या लिंक हल्लीखोरांकडून आतापर्यंत पोहोचतात. फिशिंग म्हणजे जाळ्यात मासे पकडणे. त्याच प्रकारे या फिशिंग मध्येही लोकांना प्रलोभने दाखवून जाळ्यात अडकवणे. फिशिंग हल्ला करण्यासाठी हल्लेखोराकडून काही युक्त्या केल्या जातात. सर्वप्रथम हल्लेखोराकडून एक ईमेल पाठवला जातो ज्यात काहीतरी मेसेज असतो आणि एक किंवा दोन लिंक असतात ज्यावर क्लिक करायला सांगितले जाते. नक्की यात मेसेज काय असतो? तुमचे बँक खाते फ्रीज झाले आहे, त्वरित या लिंकवर क्लिक करून खाते पूर्ववत करा. सेकंड, तुमच्या फेसबुक अकाउंटचे कोणीतरी लॉग इन केले आहे, त्वरित पासवर्ड बदला आणि पासवर्ड बदलण्यासाठी येथे क्लिक करा. तुमचे जॉब ऍप्लिकेशन मान्य झाले आहे, अधिक माहितीसाठी येथे क्लिक करा. तुमचे रेल्वे विमान तिकीट बुक झालेले आहे, तुम्हाला आमचे ईमेल येऊ नये असे वाटत असेल तर येथे अनसबस्क्राईब करा. अशा प्रकारे मेसेज पाठवून अनेकांना घाबरवले जाते. तर कधी प्रलोभन दाखवले जाते. लिंकवर क्लिक केल्यावर काय होते? संबंधित लिंकवर क्लिक केल्यास फिशिंगचा हल्ला होतो. लिंकवर क्लिक केल्यावर आपण एका वेबसाईटवर पोहोचतो. ती वेबसाईट आपल्याला ओळखीची वाटते, पण प्रत्यक्ष ती खरी वेबसाईट नसून कॉपी असते. त्याला फिशिंग साईट असे म्हणतात. उदाहरणार्थ, जर तुम्हाला फेसबुक संदर्भात काही मेल आला असेल आणि तुम्ही त्यावर क्लिक करून फेसबुकवर आला आहात असे वाटत असेल तर तुम्ही जाळ्यात अडकलेले आहात. समोर दिसणारे फेसबुकचे लॉग इन पेज जरी नेहमीसारखे दिसत असले तरी ते फेक असते. अशा फेक पेजवर जेव्हा तुम्ही युजर नेम आणि पासवर्ड टाकता तेव्हा या गोष्टी हल्लेखोराला मिळतात, कारण मुळातच ते पेज खरे नसते. तसेच फिशिंगचे काही प्रकारही आहेत. फिशिंगचे अनेक प्रकार आहेत ज्यात प्रामुख्याने होणारे फिशिंग म्हणजे भ्रामक, डिसिप्टिव्ह फिशिंग. यामध्ये युजरला हल्लेखोराकडून जो ईमेल येतो तोच भ्रामक असतो, म्हणजे अगदी हुबेहूब अधिकृत वाटावा असा, जसे तो ईमेल खरोखरच फेसबुकने पाठवला आहे किंवा एखाद्या बँकेने पाठवला आहे. त्यात तसा लोगो आणि रंगसंगती वापरलेली असते. काही फिशिंगचे हल्ले हे एखाद्या व्यक्तीला टार्गेट करून केलेले असतात, तर काही वेळा सरसकट सर्वांवर केले जातात. सर्वात आर्थिक फसवणूक करणारा फिशिंग हल्ला एखाद्या कंपनीच्या उच्च पदस्थ अधिकाऱ्यावर केला जातो, ज्यामध्ये कंपनीचे पार्टनर किंवा इतर कोणी अधिकारी असल्याची बतावणी करणारा ईमेल केला जातो आणि दिलेल्या लिंकवर क्लिक करून पैसे पाठवायला सांगितले जाते. फिशिंग साईट म्हणजे खऱ्या आणि प्रसिद्ध वेबसाईटची हुबेहूब नक्कल बनवणे. त्यासाठी अनेक टूल्स उपलब्ध आहेत किंवा अगदी कोड कॉपी पेस्ट सारख्या सोप्या पद्धतीने हे करता येते. ही फेक वेबसाईट किंवा फेक पेज हे GoDaddy सारख्या एखाद्या होस्टिंग सेवेचा उपयोग करून होस्ट केली जाते किंवा अगदी गुगल ड्रॉपबॉक्स किंवा गुगल ड्राईव्हचाही वापर केला जातो. काही महिन्यांपूर्वी गुगल ड्राईव्हचा वापर करून एकाने गुगलचे जीमेल फिशिंग पेज बनवले होते. फिशिंग ईमेल कसा ओळखायचा? आपल्याला आलेला ईमेल हा कितीतरी हुबेहूब आणि अधिकृत वाटत असला तरी काही गोष्टी पडताळून पाहण्याची आवश्यकता असते. तो ईमेल आयडी अधिकृत आहे का, दिसणारा ईमेल आयडी हा खरंच आहे का, काही युक्त्या वापरून यातली फेरबदल करता येतात, ज्यामुळे ईमेल वेगळ्याच आयडी वरून पाठवलेला असतो पण दिसताना वेगळ्या आयडी वरून आला आहे असं वाटते. आलेल्या ईमेलच्या हेडरमध्ये काही सूचना आलेली आहे का, जीमेल यासारख्या यंत्रणांकडून याबाबत लाल अक्षरात संकेत दिले जातात. फिशिंग पेज कसे ओळखणार? ईमेल प्रमाणेच दिसणारी वेबसाईट अगदी हुबेहूब दिसते, पण त्यात काही महत्वाच्या गोष्टी आहेत ज्या आपण लगेच ओळखू शकतो. सगळ्यात महत्वाचे म्हणजे वेबसाईटचे नाव. वेबसाईटला URL काय आहे हे पाहावे. समजा आपण फेसबुकवर आहोत असे आपल्याला वाटत असेल तर www.facebook.com असे आहे ना हे बघावे. काही वेळा ते facebook.com किंवा facebook.ccm किंवा तत्सम काही केलेले असते, म्हणजेच अधिकृत स्पेलिंग मध्ये काहीतरी बदल करून फसवले जाते. वेबसाईटच्या नावाबरोबर असलेला प्रोटोकॉल बघावा. HTTP आहे की HTTPS आहे, हा सिक्युअर म्हणजे सुरक्षित असतो आणि हिरव्या रंगात दाखवलेला असतो. त्यासाठी SSL सर्टिफिकेट घेतलेले असते. फिशिंग साईटवर हे नसते. फिशिंग पेजवर नुकसान कसे होऊ शकते? फिशिंग पेज हे अधिकृत आहे असे समजून लोक त्यावर लॉग इन करत असतात आणि त्यांना युजर नेम पासवर्ड हल्लेखोरांकडे पोहोचतो. तसेच बँक किंवा पेटीएम किंवा इतर कुठल्याही आर्थिक व्यवहार करण्याच्या साईट सारखी फिशिंग वेबसाईट युजरकडून कार्ड नंबर, CCTV, OTP इत्यादी घेऊन हल्लेखोरांकडे पोहोचवते. तसेच अनेकदा XSS म्हणजे क्रॉस साईट स्क्रिप्ट हल्ला करवला जातो, ज्यात फक्त पेज उघडले तरी हा हल्ला होतो. त्यात एक हुक तयार होऊन आपले सगळे पासवर्ड आणि कुकीज चोरले जातात. देन हाऊ टू फाईल अ कंप्लेंट. The complaint regarding commission of cybercrime can be made to the in charge of the cybercrime cells, which are present almost in every city. To file a complaint commission of a cybercrime, the following documents must be provided. Then what was that? In case of hacking, the following information should be provided, that is server logs, copy of defaced web page in soft copy as well as hard copy format if your website is defaced, if data is compromised on your server or computer or any other network equipment, soft copy of original data and soft copy of compromised data, access control mechanism details, that is who had what kind of the access to the compromised system, list of suspect if the victim is having any suspicious on anyone, all relevant information leading to the answers to following questions. What is compromised? Then who might have compromised the system? Then when the system was compromised? Then why the system might have been compromised? Where is the impact of attack, identifying the target system from the network? Then how many systems have been compromised by the attack? In case of email abuse, vulgar email, etc., the following information should be provided. Extract the extended headers of offending email and bring soft copy as well as hard copy of offending email. Please do not delete the offending email from your email box. Save the copy of offending email on your computer's hard drive. सायबर गुन्ह्यामध्ये एक व्यक्ती बेकायदेशीर माहिती ऑनलाईन वितरित करते. यामध्ये सायबर स्टॉकिंग, पोर्नोग्राफी, वितरण आणि तस्करी यांचा समावेश असतो. म्हणजे सायबर क्राईम व्यक्तींच्या गोपनीयतेचे आणि त्यांच्या डेटाच्या सुरक्षिततेचे उल्लंघन करते. विशेषतः हॅकिंग, मालवेअर, आर्थिक फसवणूक, वैद्यकीय फसवणूक आणि वैयक्तिक माहिती. So today our content is what is different types of cybercrime against individuals and unauthorized control access over computer system. What is crime against the individual? This category of cybercrime involves one individual distributing malicious or illegal information online. This can include cyber stalking, distributing pornography and trafficking, etc. Then there is different types of cybercrime against individuals. First, harassment via electronic mails, cyber stalking, defamation, cheating, email spoofing, fraud, unauthorized control access over computer system. What is harassment via electronic mail? Email harassment is usually understood to be a form of stalking in which one or more people send consistent, unwanted, and often threatening electronic message to someone else. There isn't always an exact definition of what an message has to look or sound like in order to be harassing. Harassment is usually a matter of circumstances, since what one person finds offensive or harmful may not actually come off that way to someone else. This sort of harassment is frequently fueled by sourced romance, workplace gossips, or school bullying, and is often only amplified through social media networks and connections. Some places have law against email harassment, but not all do. And even in localities where this sort of messages are illegal, the threshold is usually very high. Simply sending unwanted mail isn't usually something that can be punished, but a continued pattern of threats or menacing message sometimes can do. There are basic characteristics. What makes an unwanted email message harassing is often a matter of person opinion and individual reaction. Though, in most cases, this sort of mail is sent with the intention of intimidating, frightening, or otherwise bothering the recipient. Usually, the contents are personal to the recipient, but they can also include things like inappropriate jokes or other offensive material. They may be sexual in nature or otherwise discrimination. This form of harassment is frequently a repetitive act. It can sometimes result from a single transmission. It is sent with malicious intent or if the material is potentially damaging to the victim. Common causes. There are most common causes. Most email services offer ways to block harassing messages. The most frequent instance of email harassment occur in domestic disputes, usually when one person leaves the relationship and the other becomes disgruntled. The rejected person may send a serial of email that are threatening and intimidating. Sometimes, though even emails intended to entice the other person to return to the relationship can seem harassing even if they aren't otherwise offensive in their content. In these cases, the biggest question is where they cause significant distress to the recipient for any reason. हॅरॅशमेंट वाया इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मेल सहसा पाठलाग करण्याचा एक प्रकार समजला जातो. त्यामध्ये एक किंवा अधिक लोक सतत अवांछित मीन्स अनडिझायरेबल संदेश दुसऱ्याला पाठवत असतात. त्रासदायक होण्यासाठी संदेश कसा दिसावा याची व्याख्या नेहमीच नसते. तुम्हाला अपमानास्पद वाटत असलेल्या ईमेल किंवा डिरेक्ट मेसेजचा सामना करताना मेसेज तुम्हाला असुरक्षित वाटत आहे का हे स्वतःला विचारून सुरुवात करा. त्याच्या काही स्टेप्स आहेत. जर काही भविष्यात धोके दिसत असल्यास स्क्रीनशॉट काढा किंवा तो मेसेज प्रिंट करून ठेवा. अपमानास्पद ईमेल किंवा मेसेजची होस्ट प्लॅटफॉर्मवर तक्रार करा. ईमेल फॉरवर्ड करू नका. ईमेलमध्ये ब्लॉक सेंडर हे फीचर वापरा. जोपर्यंत तुम्हाला खात्री वाटत नाही मेसेजमधील कंटेंट धोकादायक नाही तोपर्यंत मेसेजचा रिप्लाय देऊ नका. Second is cyber stalking. Cyber stalking means following an individual's activity over internet. It can be done with the help of many protocols available such as email, chat rooms, users, netgrooms. Cyber stalking is a crime in which someone harasses or stalks a victim using electronic or digital means such as social media, email, instant messaging, or messages posted to a discussion group or forum. Cyber stalkers take advantage of the anonymity offered by the internet to stalk or harass their victims, sometimes without being caught, punished, or even detected. The terms cyberstalking and cyberbullying are often used interchangeably. Cyberstalking, however, is actually a form of cyberbullying, which, along with cyberskirting and cyberterrorism, is among the growing number of computer and internet-related crimes, collectively referred to as cybercrime. Although cyberstalking is a general term for online harassment, it can take many forms, including slanders, defamation, false trolling, and even outright threats. In many cases, especially when both the harasser and victim are individuals, the motive may be first is monitor the victim online and in some cases offline, track the victim locations and follow them online or offline, annoy the victim, intimidate, frighten, control, or blackmail the victim, reveal private information about the victim, a practice known as doxing. gather more information about the victim to steal their identity or perpetrate other real-world crimes like theft or harassment. Cyberstalkers often start small in the beginning. They may send a few strange or somewhat unpleasant messages to their intended victim. Then later, they may brush off these messages as funny, annoying, or mildly weird and ignore them without taking any action. Over time, the messages may become systematic, sustained, and repetitive, and take on an increasingly intimidating or fighting tone. Then, what is direct and indirect cyberstalking? Cyberstalking can be direct or indirect. Perpetrators may directly email their victims or flood their inboxes with email, or they may harass them through IM, voicemail, texting, or other forms of electronic communications. They may use technologies to survive or follow their victims or continuously view their pages, often without their knowledge. Sometimes cyberstalkers may send obscene, vulgar, or offensive comments, social media follower or friend requests, or even outright threats. The stalkers may either attack the victims, which may distress them or cause them to fear for their safety and well being. They may also attack their victims' family or friends to expand their sphere of stalking influence. In indirect cyberstalking attacks, perpetrators may damage the victim's device. They may do this by infecting it with ransomware to lock their files and the forcing them to pay a ransom for unlocking them. Or they may install a virus or keystroke logger that monitors the victim's digital behavior and or steal data from the device. Then how to guard against cyberstalking? Individuals can guard against cyberstalking without losing their online independence. One strategy is to stay as anonymous as possible. Of course, complete anonymity is almost impossible on the internet nowadays. So the next best thing is to keep a low profile, especially on social media. Rather than having an identifiable and traceable online presence, use nicknames and gender neutral names when possible. Avoid posting personal details such as your email address, home address, phone number, or workplace details online, where anyone can easily access them and use them to cyberstalk. Also, guard photographs and make sure all private information like vacation plans, photos, and posts are visible only to trusted individuals. Use a primary email account only for communicating with non trusted people and set up an anonymous email account for all other communications. Install email spam filter to minimize spam and possibility of email based phishing or cyber stalking attackers. Other ways to guard against cyber stalking, that is update all software to prevent information leaks, mask your internet protocol address with a virtual private network, strengthen privacy settings on social media, strengthen all devices with strong password or better, use multi-factor authentication, avoid using public Wi-Fi networks, send private information via private message, not by posting on public forums. Safeguard mobile devices by using password protection and never leave device unattended. Disable geolocation settings on device. Install antivirus software on device to detect malicious software. Always log out of all accounts at the end of session and be aware of installing apps that ask to access your personal information. सायबर स्टॉकिंग ही ऑनलाईन व्यक्तीकडून सतत आणि अवांछित क्रिया आहे. यात धमक्या, मानहानी, लैंगिक छळ किंवा त्यांचे लक्ष नियंत्रण करण्यासाठी, प्रभाव पाडण्यासाठी किंवा धमकवण्याच्या इतर पद्धती असू शकतात. सायबर स्टॉकिंग ची काही उदाहरणे ते म्हणजे धमकी देणे, अश्लील किंवा त्रासदायक ईमेल पाठवणे, पीडिताची ऑनलाईन खाती जसे की बँकिंग किंवा ईमेल हॅक करणे आणि पीडिताची सेटिंग्स आणि पासवर्ड बदलणे. तसेच सायबर स्टॉकिंगचे काही सायन्सी आहेत. या लोकांना कोणत्याही वेळी फोन, कॉल, संदेश किंवा ईमेल येतात. ते ऑनलाईन संशयास्पद वागतात. माहिती नसलेल्या लोकांकडून भेटवस्तू घेतात. ऑनलाईन झाल्यानंतर ते स्पष्टपणे अस्वस्थ घाबरलेले किंवा रडत असतात. जे लोक सायबर स्टॉकिंगचे टार्गेट असतात त्यांना धमकीचे संदेश किंवा ईमेल प्राप्त होणे देखील असामान्य नाही. सायबर स्टॉकिंग करणारी व्यक्ती तुमच्या टीनेज मुलामुलीला काही मार्गाने ब्लॅकमेल देखील करू शकते. ज्याप्रमाणे एखादी व्यक्ती तुमच्या टीनेज मुलामुली व्यतिरिक्त वैयक्तिकरित्या पाठलाग करते, पोस्टमध्ये टॅग करू शकते. हे करण्यासाठी ते अनेक बनावट खाती तयार करतात, सोशल मीडियाद्वारे संदेश पाठवू शकतात किंवा त्यांनी ऑनलाईन पोस्ट केलेल्या प्रत्येक गोष्टीवर कमेंट करू शकतात. Then what is cyber defamation? Cyber defamation, this occurs when defamation takes place with the help of computers and or the internet. Example, someone publishes defamatory matter about someone on a website or sends an email containing defamatory information. Publication of defamatory material against another person with the help of computer or the internet, social media or messaging channel or emails is known as a cyber defamation. Then, to be a little more elaborate, if someone publishes a defamatory statement about a person or an entity on a website, social media, or messaging channels, or sends email containing defamatory material to another person or an entity with the intention to defame the other person or the entity about whom the assertion has been made, that amount to cyber defamation. It is not a petty crime, considering that it could sometimes impact the economy of a country, depending upon the information and persons on whom it has been published. And who does defamation? Social media news channel, a new marketplace has emerged where public shaming is a commodity and shame is an industry. Nowadays, money is made on the clicks. The more shame, the more clicks, and the more advertising revenue. Disgruntled employee sends derogatory, defamatory, vulgar, and abusive emails to the company's supervisor or management. Ex-friend, ex-spouse, obscene message, or sent to friends, family, or even on porn sites. Political rivalry, defaming rival party with false content and false content. Then what is free speech versus defamation? Freedom of expression and speech as provided under Article 19(1)(a) in our Constitution provides that all citizens shall have the right to freedom of expression and speech. However, such freedom is subject to reasonable restrictions. The protection of the reputation of the other person falls within the ambit of responsible restriction, and any comment or remark which hampers the reputation of another person will invite liability under the law of defamation. Then what our law says on cyber defamation? There is section 66A. We do not have any act that support the victim when defamed online in our current IT Act. The Supreme Court struck down section 66A of the IT Act 2000 relating to restrictions on online speech as unconstitutional or on grounds of violating the freedom of speech guaranteed under Article 19 of the Constitution of India. Section 49(9) of IPC, it says that whoever by words either spoken or intended to be read, or by signs or by visible representations, makes or publishes any imputation concerning any person intending to harm, or knowing or having reason to believe that such imputations will harm the reputation of such people. Section 469 of IPC says that whoever commits forgery intending that the document or electronic record forged shall harm the reputation of any party, or knowing that it is likely to be used for the purpose, shall be punished the sections. Then next, section 503 of IPC, it says that whoever threatens another with any injury to a person, reputation or property, or to the person or reputation of anyone in whom that person is interested, with intent to cause alarm to that person, or to cause that person to do any act which he is not legally bound to do, or to omit to do any act which that person is legally entitled to do, as a means of avoiding the execution of such threats, commit criminals intimidations. Then what's on social media on nowadays? Engagements, duos, and baby bumps are announced on social media. Many of us are going official or social networks, declaring relationship statuses, expressing opinions, confessing mistakes, and announcing sexual identities. With the above expressions, online defamation and trolling have both short and long-term effects on freedom of expression. Online defamation and abuse may result in emotional and physical stress, erosion of individual and brand identity, credibility, financial and other. In the recent past, technological abuse by bots is happening through replies and comments. Social media intermediaries should proactively monitor content and take appropriate action against those who post defamatory content, apart from having an efficient grievance redressal mechanism. Then what is the tips when you are using social media? Use unique complex password, special characters for every social media account you own and change them periodically. Enable two-factor authentication for all your social accounts. Configure privacy and GPS setting for your social media platforms. To control information sharing, never share sensitive information on social media platform. Avoid clicking on suspicious links, Google Forms, and short links from unknown contacts. Only connect with people that you know and trust in real life. Use message applications with end-to-end encryption. Use a virtual private network if required, or you may use browse in incognito or private mode. Block cookies and configure privacy setting to control information sharing. संगणक किंवा इंटरनेट, सोशल मीडिया किंवा मेसेजिंग किंवा ईमेल च्या साहाय्याने दुसऱ्या व्यक्तीविरुद्ध काही पोस्ट करणे याला सायबर डिफेमेशन म्हणतात. जर कोणी वेबसाईट, सोशल मीडिया किंवा एखाद्या संस्थेबद्दल बदनामीकारक विधान करत असेल किंवा काही मटेरियल असलेले ईमेल पाठवले तर त्या संस्थेबद्दल बदनामी केली गेली आहे, त्याला सायबर डिफेमेशन म्हणतात. कारण हा काही क्षुल्लक गुन्हा नाही, कारण तो कधी कधी एखाद्या देशाच्या अर्थव्यवस्थेवर परिणाम करू शकतो. ती माहिती आणि ज्या व्यक्तीवर प्रकाशित केली आहे त्यावर अवलंबून असते. एंगेजमेंट, घटस्फोट आणि बेबी बंप सोशल मीडियावर जाहीर होतात. आपल्यापैकी बरेच जण नेटवर्क्सवर रिलेशनशिप स्टेटस घोषित करतात, त्यांची मते व्यक्त करतात, चुका कबूल करतात आणि लैंगिक ओळख जाहीर करत असतात. अशा लोकांना कमी किंवा अधिक काळासाठी ट्रोल केलं जातं. ऑनलाईन बदनामी आणि गैरवर्तवणूक भावनिक आणि शारीरिक ताण, वैयक्तिक आणि ब्रँड ओळख नष्ट होणे, आर्थिक आणि इतर परिणाम होऊ शकतात. Then what is cyber cheating? Cyber cheating, this is to cheat your spouse or committed partner by having obnoxious relations online with someone else unnoticed to your spouse or partner. These relations may be social, financial, sexual, etc., but are always objectionable to your spouse or partner. If he or she comes to know all this, no matter where you have these relations with the same gender or with the opposite one, you are committing cyber cheating. You also need to know what the cheating actually is and what are circumstances that most people start cheating with their partner. How common cyber cheating is, it can be judged by the fact that 25% of men and 14% of women cheat their respective partners in a lifetime. Another expert is of the view that 20% to 60% of couples cheat each other in a lifetime. Another very interesting fact is that 76% of women and 59% of men consider is cheating to send flirty messages online without in notice of their partners. Some think that cyber cheating involves only illegal online sexual relations with someone else other than your committed spouse or partner. This is in fact a part of the whole. Any of your immoral, illegal, or objectionable online activity unnoticed to your spouse or partner comes under the banner of cyber cheating. What confirms any online activity to be cyber cheating is its being stealthy and the fact that your partner will be angry if he or she comes to know about this. So, Cyber cheating is not confined just to the unnoticed sexual activity online through this is admittedly the most operationable area so far. The following stats will show you lot in the respect. 50% of males and 50% of females admitted to cheating on their spouse, even with more than one person. 32% of men and 22% of women met with the person they cheated with either through social media, social settings, or a dating service. 23% of men and 28% of female said that leading cause was a lack of sexual or emotional satisfaction, though most marriages continue even after the affairs. 40% of men and women are not satisfied with their spouse. Then, what is the causes of cyber cheating? Being monogamous is really a gift for a number of reasons, but I wonder why some people do not want to enjoy this blessed gift throughout their lives. They get involved with others secretly, and find immense pleasure to undertake online sexual activities despite the fact they are far away from each other. I have investigated into the possible causes of this immoral cheating, and the following some are found in society. That is, some people are not monogamous by nature. They tend to have relations with more than one person at a time. Such type of people told that they also like and love their spouse or committed partner and never like to lose him or her. So they think if safe to build a secret relation with someone and fulfill their inner desire without losing their image before their partner. A few are those who think that after having a long sexual discussion online, they will get aroused or excited and will be well able to perform better with their spouse on bed. One of their is friend who says sometimes it happens that one of the partner has to leave home to earn abroad and the couple get in bed after long gaps. Meanwhile, one of the partner thinks it better to develop relations with someone else at least for some temporary consolation. Adverse consequence of cyber cheating. That is, cyber cheating is really a very gruesome activity which causes a number of social disasters which are no focus on family. Family कडे लक्ष नसणे, then कुटुंबासोबत कमी संबंध असणे. The betrayer starts shrinking from his or her own family when he or she gets involved in someone else other than his or her spouse. He or she keeps thinking about the other person and what to do next. The parents, the spouse, and the children get badly ignored all this while. He or she started neglecting the responsibilities towards the family, for they seems to be considered an extra burden. Then there is weakest family relation. Cyber cheating weakness the family bond and the relationship among various units of a family get spoiled. The family does not seem to be a family unit anymore when husband or wife or both start cheating each other. Nobody in the family cares for other, and the well-being of the whole family is adversely hit under such circumstances. There is wastage of time, money, and energy. Apart from everything else, cyber cheating also causes severe loss of precious time, money, and energy. A lot of worthwhile tasks remain unaccomplished just because of the shortage of time on the part of the betrayer. How to overcome cyber cheating? The best way to overcome this is to reform oneself by self-realization of the moral, social, and domestic responsibilities. One must always fulfill one's liabilities towards one's spouse and other family members. However, professional consultants and counselors may also be contacted in this regards in case one fails to reconcile oneself. The best way to overcome this nuisance is to reform oneself by self-realization of moral, social, and domestic responsibilities. हे तुमच्या जोडीदाराची फसवणूक करणे, तुमच्या जोडीदाराच्या लक्षात न येणाऱ्या कोणाशी तरी ऑनलाईन अश्लील संबंध ठेवणे, हे संबंध सामाजिक, आर्थिक, लैंगिक इत्यादी असू शकतात. परंतु तुमच्या जोडीदाराला हे कळालं तर हे आक्षेपार्ह असतात. तुमचे संबंध एका लिंगाशी किंवा विरुद्ध लिंगाशी असले तरीही तुम्ही सायबर फसवणूक करत आहात. सायबर फसवणुकीचे काही परिणामही होतात. सायबर फसवणूक हे खरोखर एक अतिशय भयानक क्रिया आहे, ज्यामुळे अनेक सामाजिक आपत्ती उद्भवतात. कुटुंबावर लक्ष नाही जेव्हा तो किंवा ती त्याच्या जोडीदाराला वैयक्तिकरित्या कोणामध्ये अडकलेला असतो, तेव्हा विश्वासघात करणे, त्याच्या स्वतःच्या कुटुंबापासून लांब होणे, कुटुंबासाठी वेळ नसणे, सर्वात कमकुवत कौटुंबिक संबंध. सायबर फसवणूक कौटुंबिक बंध कमकुवत करते आणि कुटुंबातील विविध घटकांमधील संबंध खराब होतात. Then there is email spoofing. A spoofed email is one in which the email header is forged so that the mail appears to originate from one source but actually has been sent from another source. Spoofing is the act of discussing a communication from an unknown source as being from an known trusted source. Spoofing can apply to emails, phone calls, and websites, or can be more technical, such as computer spoofing, an IP address, address resolution protocol, ARP, or domain name system. Spoofing can be used to gain access to a target's personal information, spread malware through infected links or attachments, bypass network access controls, or redistributed traffic to conduct a denial of service attack. Spoofing is often the way a bad actor gains access in order to execute a large cyber attack, such as an advanced persistent threat or a man-in-the-middle attack. Successful attacks on organizations can lead to infected computer systems and networks, data breaches, and or loss of revenue, all liable to affect the organization's public reputations. In addition, spoofing that leads to the rerouting of internet traffic can overwhelm network or lead customers' clients to malicious sites aimed at stealing information or distributing malware. Then how spoofing works? Spoofing can be applied to a number of communication methods and employ various levels of technical known. How spoofing can be used to carry out phishing attacks, which are scams to gain sensitive information from individuals or organizations. Then types of spoofing. First is email spoofing. Email spoofing occurs when an attacker uses an email message to trick a recipient into thinking it came from a known and or trusted source. These emails may include links to malicious website or attachment infected with malware, or they may use social engineering to convince the recipient to freely disclose sensitive information. Sender information is easy to spoof and can be done in one of two ways. Mimicking a trusted email address or domain by using alternate letters or numbers to appear only slightly different than the original. Caller ID spoofing. With caller ID spoofing, attackers can make it appear as if their phone calls are coming from a special numbers, either one that is known and or trusted to the recipient, or one that indicate a specific geographical location. Attackers can then use social engineering. There is website spoofing. Website spoofing refers to when a website is designed to mimic an existing site known and or trusted by the user. Attackers use these sites to gain login and another personal information from users. There is IP spoofing. Attackers may use IP there is Internet Protocol spoofing to disguise a computer IP address, thereby hiding the identity of the sender or impersonating another computer system. One purpose of IP address spoofing is to gain access to a networks that authenticate users based on IP addresses. More often, however, attackers will spoof a target's IP address in a denial of service attack to overwhelm the victim with traffic. The attacker will send packets to multiple network recipients, and when packet recipients transmit a response, they will be routed to the target spoofed IP address. There is ARP spoofing. Address Resolution Protocol is a protocol that resolves IP address to media access control. Addresses for transmitting data, ARP spoofing is used to link an attacker's MAC to a legitimate network IP address. So the attacker can receive data meant for the owner associated with that IP address. ARP spoofing is commonly used to steal or modify data, but can also be used in denial of service and man in the middle attack or in session hijacking. DNS server spoofing. DNS is domain name system server. Resolve URLs and email address to corresponding IP addresses. DNS spoofing always attackers to divert traffic to a different IP address, leading victims to sites that spread malware. ईमेल स्पूफिंग हे स्पॅम आणि फिशिंग हल्ल्यांमध्ये वापरलेले एक तंत्र आहे जे वापरकर्त्यांना फसवणूक करण्यासाठी एखाद्या व्यक्तीकडून किंवा संस्थेकडून मेसेज आला आहे एकतर जातात किंवा विश्वास ठेवू शकतात. उदाहरणार्थ, फसवणूक केलेला ईमेल एखाद्या सुप्रसिद्ध शॉपिंग वेबसाईटचा असल्याचे भासवलं जातं. प्राप्तकर्त्याला पासवर्ड किंवा क्रेडिट कार्ड नंबर यासारखा संवेदनशील डाटा प्रदान करण्यास सांगू शकतात. तसेच ईमेल स्पूफिंगची काही कारणेही आहेत. फिशिंग हल्ल्याचा भाग म्हणून सायबर गुन्हेगार अनेकदा स्पूफिंगचा वापर करतात. फिशिंग ही एक ईमेल पट्टा बनवण्याचा करून डेटा मिळवण्यासाठी वापरली जाणारी एक पद्धत आहे. ईमेल स्पूफिंग थांबवण्याचे मार्ग: अँटी मालवेअर सॉफ्टवेअर वापरा, ईमेल सुरक्षित करण्यासाठी इन्क्रिप्शन वापरा, कधीही वैयक्तिक माहिती देऊ नका, विचित्र आणि अपरिचित लिंक पासून सावध राहा. Next is fraud. Fraud is when trickery is used to gain a dishonest advantage, which is often financial, over another person. Cybercrime is any criminal act dealing with computer and network. There are many words used to describe fraud, like scam, con, swindle, extortion, sham, double cross, cheat, ploy, rush, hoodwink, confidence trick. These are just a few words you might hear in relation to fraud. Fraud can be committed against individuals or businesses. Have a look in our A to Z of fraud for information about different types of fraud. Cybercrime is any criminal act dealing with computers and networks. Additionally, cybercrime also include traditional crimes conducted through the internet. Cyber fraud is the most common and threatening form of fraud which take place internationally. The cyber world has been expanding and growing throughout the 21st century, allowing fraudsters to hack victims' personal and financial information in a variety of ways. Fraudsters can use the information which they gather to when financially found themselves, or worryingly they might use this money to fund terrorism. Therefore, it is essential that individuals and organizations are aware of how to protect themselves against cyber fraud. Then how serious is cyber fraud and how does it occur? The cyber world is expanding. We now store more personal and financial information on the internet than ever. And this has unfortunately instigated the increase in cybercrime. The cyber fraud crimes are increasingly in severity. There is some example. In 2013, Target Corporation, the second largest department store retailer in the United States, were victim of a cyber fraud scam which compromised the 14 million customers' credit card numbers. In 2014, Home Depot, a large US retailer company, has 56 million of their customers' credit card numbers hacked by fraudsters via cybercrime. In 2015, cyber fraudsters from China hacked into the US office of personal management and stole more than 20 million people personal information, including their fingerprint. Then how can you protect against cyber fraud? Cybercrime and fraudsters normally try to hack into victims' personal and financial information online via phishing emails and viruses. If you receive an email with an attached link which either asks you to present your bank information or to confirm your bank account information, do not do so. The key to avoiding cybercrime is to understand what your bank and related bodies would ask of you, and they would never email or call you asking for your bank information. Even if the email or the phone sales sounds legitimate and honest, you should call the bank yourself and ask them if this email originates from them or not. Make sure you destroy all traces of your personal and financial information. If a bank has posted you information with your bank details on, ensure that you share this information as a frauds online to process a CNP payment. Furthermore, make to combat any contact made between the fraud method fail, you can always contact the relevant bodies which have been established to combat cyber fraud, such as Act Reporting Center. Furthermore, the National Fraud Authority is an executive agency of the UK Home Office. There is help out there for the victim of cyber fraud. It is now time for individual to be.
अंकिता मॅम सॉरी डिस्टर्ब करते. हॅलो.
हॅलो.
मॅम तुमचा आवाज हे होते कट होते.
आता येतोय?
हा येतोय. कंटिन्यू मॅम.
ओके. सायबर फ्रॉड म्हणजे काय? फसवणूक म्हणजे जेव्हा फसवणुकीचा वापर एखाद्याचा अप्रामाणिक फायदा मिळवण्यासाठी केला जातो, जो सहसा आर्थिक असतो. दुसऱ्या व्यक्तीवर सायबर फसवणूक हा संगणकाद्वारे ऑनलाईन संग्रहित दुसऱ्या व्यक्तीची वैयक्तिक माहिती आणि आर्थिक माहिती भ्रष्ट करण्याच्या उद्देशाने केलेला गुन्हा. आणि व्यक्ती आणि संस्थांनी सावधान राहणे आणि फसवणूक करणाऱ्यापासून त्यांची माहिती सुरक्षित करणे आवश्यक आहे. फसवणूक ही एक हेतू परस्पर फसवी क्रिया आहे, जी गुन्हेगाराला बेकायदेशीर फायदा मिळवून देण्यासाठी किंवा पीडिताचा हक्क नाकारण्यासाठी डिझाईन केलेली आहे. फसवणुकीच्या प्रकारामध्ये कर फसवणूक, क्रेडिट कार्ड फसवणूक, सिक्युरिटी फसवणूक आणि दिवाळखोरी फसवणूक यांचा समावेश आहे. दुसऱ्या व्यक्तीकडून मौल्यवान वस्तू घेण्यासाठी अप्रामाणिक पद्धतीने वापरण्याचा गुन्हा म्हणजे फसवणूक. Examples: banking fraud, ATM fraud, identity theft fraud, to get government benefits, credit card frauds, marriage fraud, investment fraud. Then next is unauthorized access. Unauthorized control access over computer system. Unauthorized access is when a person gains entry to a computer network system, application software data, or other resources without permission. Any access to an information system or network that violate the owner or operator stated security policy is considered unauthorized access. Unauthorized access is also when legitimate users access a resource that they do not have permission to use. Unauthorized access is when a person gains entry to a computer network system, application software, data, or other resources without permission. Any access to an information system or network that violates the owner or operates stated security policy is considered unauthorized access. Unauthorized access is also when legitimate users access a resource that they do not have permission to use. The three primary objectives of preventing unauthorized access. First is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. First is confidentiality, the protection of sensitive information from unauthorized access. Then integrity, the protection of sensitive information from unauthorized modification or distribution. Availability, the protection of sensitive information and information systems from unauthorized destruction. Then how unauthorized access occurs. Understanding how unauthorized access occur help guide the implementation of best practices. Many common tactics fall into two broad categories. The two broad categories are digital and physical. Digital unauthorized access, that tactics means guessing passwords. Guessing password is a common entry vector for unauthorized access. Manual password guessing is done using social engineering, phishing, or by researching a person to come up with information that could be password. In scaled attacks, software is used to automate the guessing of access information such as username, password, and personal identification number, that is PIN. The second is exploiting software vulnerabilities. A mistake in software is referred to as a bug. In most cases, these bugs are annoying but harmless. However, some bugs are significant vulnerabilities that can be exploited to gain unauthorized access into applications, networks, operating systems, and hardware. These vulnerability exploits are commonly executed with software or code that can take control of system and steal data. There is social engineering. Cyber criminals often gain unauthorized access by taking advantage of human vulnerabilities, convincing people to hand over credential or sensitive data. These attacks, known as social engineering, often involve some form of psychological manipulation and utilize malicious links in email, pop-ups on websites, or text messages. Common social engineering tactics used to gain unauthorized access include phishing, smishing, spear phishing, ransomware, and impersonation. Then next is physical unauthorized access tactics. Cyber criminals often gain unauthorized access to physical spaces to carry out their plans. Some some of steal laptops or smart devices, then break into them offsite. Others target computers or routers to insert malware. Tailgating or piggybacking. Tailgating is a tactic used to gain physical access to resources by following an authorized person into a secured building area or room. The preparator can be distinguished as oversized package who may require assistance or some who looks as if they belong there. Most of these situations occur in plain sight. The next is door propping. While incredibly simple, propping open a door or window is one of the most effective ways for an insider to help a preparator gain unauthorized access to restricted buildings or spaces. Other unauthorized access, there is collusion. A malicious insider can collude with an outsider to provide unauthorized access to physical spaces or digital access to systems. Often an insider comes up with a plan, then brings in an outside to help. A more sophisticated third party can help override internal control and bypass security. Next is passbacks. Passbacks are instances of sharing credential or access card to gain unauthorized access to physical places or digital system. Then there is best practices for preventing unauthorized access. First is electronic data protection. There is monitoring should be in place to flag suspicious attempts to access sensitive information. Second, inventory of the devices on the network should be performed regularly to maintain comprehensive up-to-date maps. Encryption should be used for viewing, exchanging, and storing sensitive information. Network drives should be used to store sensitive information to protect it from unauthorized access and for disaster recovery. Mobile devices and personal computing devices should not be used in storing sensitive information. Removable media and devices should not be used to store sensitive information. Access to system and data should be limited on a need to use basis, also known as the principle of least privilege. Suspected security breaches should be reported immediately. Then backup and disposal of data. Data should be backed up and stored according to data governance policy. Sensitive data backed up to cloud storage providers should be encrypted. Backup should be conducted on a regular basis. Data there is no longer needed should be permanently deleted. Professional computer recycling programs should be used for decommissioned computers and device with all data removed prior to the recycling process. Then password management and protection. Organizational leaders should ensure strong password policies and effective compliance programs are in places to prevent unauthorized access as well as follow these guidelines themselves. Unique passwords should be used for each online account. Password should be changed for any account or device that has experienced an unauthorized access incident. Strong passwords should be used that include a combination of letters, numbers, and symbols. A password should not be word, common phrase, or one that someone with the little personal knowledge might guess, such as the user's child name, address, or phone number. Password should never be shared. Password should be changed periodically. Password should not be written down or stored in an unsecure location. Then system and device protection. Multi-factor authentication should be used for all systems. Malware scans should be regularly run on all systems. Computers, laptops, and smart devices should have the lock screen enabled and should be shut down when not in use for extended periods. Operating systems and applications should be updated when patches and new versions are available. Single so should access to antivirus, anti-malware, and anti-ransomware software electronic communication protection, email instead only be encrypted or sent as a password protected file. Attachment or links from untrusted sources. Coach employees to avoid risky behaviors. That is, screens should be special precautions should be taken when leaving device unattended. In work should not be easy to guess. Pop-ups and shortened URLs. Sensitive information should not be accessed or discussed in public locations. Unauthorized access incidents response. Timing is one of the prior planning and having a team ready to respond is critical. जेव्हा एखादी व्यक्ती संगणक, नेटवर्क, सिस्टीम, ऍप्लिकेशन, सॉफ्टवेअर, डेटा किंवा इतर संसाधनांमध्ये परवानगीशिवाय प्रवेश करते, जेव्हा कोणी वेबसाईट, प्रोग्राम, सर्व्हर, सेवा किंवा इतर सिस्टीम मध्ये दुसऱ्याचे खाते किंवा इतर पद्धती वापरून प्रवेश मिळवतो. उदाहरणार्थ, जर कोणी ऍक्सेस मिळेपर्यंत त्यांच्या नसलेल्या खात्यासाठी पासवर्ड किंवा वापरकर्त्याच्या नावाचा अंदाज घेत राहिल्यास तो अधिकृत प्रवेश मानला जातो. अनधिकृत प्रवेशाची सर्वात सामान्य कारणे अशी आहेत: पासवर्ड व्यवस्थापन आणि संरक्षण. प्रत्येक ऑनलाईन खात्यासाठी युनिक पासवर्ड वापरावा. अक्षरे, संख्या आणि चिन्ह या पासवर्ड हा मुलाचे नाव, पत्ता किंवा नसावा. पासवर्ड कधीही शेअर करू नयेत. ठिकाणी लिहून ठेवता कामा नये. संगणक, लॅपटॉप आणि स्मार्ट केले जावे आणि व्हायरस आणि सॉफ्टवेअर हॅलो 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 हॅलो. हॅलो मॅम. हॅलो.
अमृता मॅम अंकिता मॅम आवाज येतोय?
हा मॅम येतोय. हॅलो.
हा बोला बोला.
या मॅम डन.
डन. येस, मी चेक करते क्वेश्चन काय आहेत का मॅम, विचारते, नाही तर मग आपण सेशन एंड करूया. चालेल? जस्ट मी मॅम आवाज येतोय माझा? हॅलो.
हॅलो.
अंकिता मॅम आवाज येतोय?
हॅलो.
हॅलो.
हा मॅम बोला.
हा मॅम, क्वेश्चन तर काही नाही आहेत.
ओके ओके चालेल.
हा, सेशन आपण एंड करूया.
ठीक आहे चालेल. थँक्यू.
आज अंकिता मॅमनी इथं येऊन आपल्याला इतक्या चांगल्या प्रकारे मार्गदर्शन केले, त्याबद्दल मी त्यांचे मनपूर्वक आभार मानते. तसेच उपस्थित सर्व विद्यार्थी, शिक्षक, समन्वयक या सर्वांचेही आभार मानते आणि आजचं सेशन संपलं असं जाहीर करते. धन्यवाद मॅम.